Hey, what's going on, everybody? How's it going? I'm Joy from Joy Stays Free. Just wanted to say hello to everybody that is coming in. We are live here on Joy Stays Free. I'm super excited to see you all here. I have had an amazing week. I've been meeting so many dope people. Hey, what's going on, Say Williams? And I really just wanted to start with a brief announcement. This Saturday and this Friday and Saturday, actually tomorrow and Saturday, we are celebrating with Miss Molina Pierre, who is over at Glowing with Purpose. I'm going to also put that link down here. Glowing with Purpose, and I'm going to be a panelist on one of the panel discussions that she's having tomorrow. I guess it's Saturday. So not tomorrow, but Saturday, with some great brothers, and just wanting to really hear kind of what everybody's heart is, and just like talking about men and women and just our roles as it pertains to taking dominion in the earth. And in the kingdom. So as you guys know, I like to just jump on, and we just gonna go for it. Tonight we're gonna do something a little different. What's going on? And we are going to do the Q&A, because I had so much fun with y'all last week. I was like, we should be doing Q&A, like that's what we should be doing. So I'm gonna start with the kind of what we're gonna talk about, what's going on, and we're going to talk about loneliness and managing your expectations. So I came across some really dope information. If you guys are on Clubhouse, I'm going to be there after we do our Q&A. So it's going to be fire. Thank you so much. Love the hoodie. This is exclusive. So the merch line, look out for that, coming 2021, is going to be real dope. So I'm super excited that you all are here. Let's talk about loneliness. Okay. So we're in this series talking about how we're going to get through these holidays, right? So I'm just kind of feeling super comfy tonight. So because I just feel like this is a conversation that needs to be had. We don't talk about feeling lonely. We don't talk about loneliness. We don't thank you so much. We don't talk about how we're feeling. So let me just gauge the room like we always ask. How are y'all feeling tonight? Like, what's going on? And you're here because you want to get those tools so that you can move forward, so that you don't have to deal with these pervasive like thoughts that are going on in your mind. So let's talk about loneliness tonight. And so I wanted to go with a brief definition of loneliness, and it's those feelings of isolation, feeling away from people, feeling isolated. And really, when you Google loneliness, that's basically what it means. It just basically means that you feel extremely isolated. And so I have a background in child development, and one of the things I love about child development is just the natural organic growth of a human, right? So from the womb to that birth to three, all the way out through the canal, there are all these amazing rapid things that happen. Dr. Brazelton is one of the founding, got your popcorn and ready and sipping the tea. Yes, because we're gonna get into some real good stuff tonight about how we can manage our expectations when it comes to people. And so Dr. Brazelton basically created this study. He did a study on infants, and wanted to, actually before these studies, and some other doctors as well came out with studies that talked about what infants do, infant humans coming out of the birth canal do. Actually, people were basically really discarding and kind of nonchalantly just kind of shoving infants to the side as if they weren't people, as if they were a different version of a human, some sort of alien being, which they're definitely not. They're little humans. They have a mind, a will, emotions. They have all these different things. And so when the studies began to come out about how humans connect when they come through the birth canal, he started to notice that the human in its infant form began to look around and desire connection. You are born needing connection. Okay, somebody put that down there. Connection. You are born needing connection. Connection is not something that you just, I can be connected, I can't be connected. In this day and age, when you're grown, you're on your own, you're able to do whatever you want to do. We actually connect or disconnect with people. We vibe with people. We always say that, like, oh, your vibe attracts your tribe. You got your people with you and all that kind of good stuff. But it's really true. You are made for connection. And that's because there's a God thing inside of you that's made for intimacy, right? It's made for connection. That's why we need one another. That's why we feed off of each other. That's why energy is so powerful when humans are together in a room. And even when we're on live like this, when you're hearing another human's voice, that energy that's coming through, you actually can feel that. It's doing something in your psyche. And it's because, just hearing things and feeling it in your soul, that's kind of what it's doing for you. you. So not to go too much into that, but just to understand that humans need connection. And because we need connection, we need to understand that in this study, what was found was that if a human did not have that certain connection, then they actually would begin to deteriorate in their development. And so now, way fast forward, like, decades later, we understand that now there are even volunteers that go into the neonatal intensive care unit, the NICU, that go to hold babies on purpose because they have to be in there. They're fighting for their lives, and they need that human connection, because without it, they're less likely to gain weight. They're less likely to thrive. They're less likely to survive. The survival rate is way low without human connection from you coming into this world, your first few days. And so when we talk about loneliness, your isolation is actually an indicator that you're a human. Okay, you are realizing, like, first it's an awareness. It's okay, I know for a fact that I'm feeling alone. I'm feeling by myself. Why am I feeling like this? And I think it's important to talk about how we feel when we're in a group of people and we still feel alone, and when we're by ourselves. So all these different studies were done about people and loneliness. And because of COVID-19, there's been a lot of stuff going on because people are not going home for the holidays. They've been socially distanced all year. Some people are in some really drastic, isolated situations because they just either cannot get out. They cannot get with their family. Their family has different things going on, and so they cannot commune with other people. It's just impossible to do right now. And so I wanted to bring this up closest to this holiday season. No matter what you celebrate, you have to understand that not only are you built for connection, and that you're built for just some deeper meaning when it comes to connecting with people, but you need it. You absolutely need it. And so because we need it, a lot of times we find ourselves in our own heads and thinking to ourselves, how can I find this connection? And a recent study was brought up. So tonight I'm getting a little technical with you guys because I'm pretty much a psych nerd. I really do love psychology, and I love human behavior and understanding how people function. And what I'm about to share is actually really important to the points and the tools that I'm going to give you moving forward on how we can combat loneliness. Because y'all know here in the Stay Free Studio, we got to talk about us first. It's really about how we're dealing. How are we going to deal with these issues that we're experiencing, the feelings that are coming over us that are sometimes really pervasive, that can actually lead to depression and depressive thoughts. So in order for us to stay free from that, we really have to grab hold of understanding what this means. So there are some studies that have recently come out, and I wanted to pull this up for you guys because it was super important. They were saying a study of 40,000 participants showed that specific signatures in brain scans of lonely people showed excess gray matter in the brain. Loneliness is linked to variations in gray matter volume, and basically making your brain network pretty difficult. It says this area of the brain is connected to the use of imagination, memory, future planning, and daydreaming. In the absence of desired social experiences, and this is part of their finding, and this is from Montreal Neurological Institute Hospital. It says, in the absence of desired social experiences, lonely individuals may be biased towards internally directed thoughts, such as reminiscing or imagining social experiences. And this is quoted by Spring. This is one of the lead authors of this particular write-up for this journal. And so for those of you who are coming in the room, I just want to say we're talking about loneliness and really what it means in the brain. What does that look like when we're actually feeling lonely? So in this finding, they actually found that when you're lonely, your brain scan shows that you are overactive in the area of the brain that basically controls your imagination and your memory and how you think and how you hope. And so the study continues to talk about all of these imaginative things. So I know I kind of read that quickly, but it says lonely individuals may be biased towards internally directed thoughts. Get out of your head. Like, there's really no way else to say that. When you're feeling lonely, one of the points I want to bring up is that we need to be present and be mindful, not trapped and repetitive in our thinking. Be present and be mindful, not trapped in your thinking. And so it's really important to understand that when you're thinking about these, we talk a lot about mindfulness, right? We talk a lot about being present in the moment. So you all are here with me. I thank you that you're here. I'm present with you in this moment. I am concentrating on what I'm saying to you right now. I'm focused on you and what you guys are giving me, and we're giving each other this feedback. You have to be present in the moment without repeating trapped thoughts. those thoughts that you're rehearsing to yourself, because other studies have shown that 80% of what we think every day is negative. So if you're rehearsing negative thoughts and 80% of that is negative, you're basically 80% of your day, you're rehearsing negative thinking that's reinforcing thoughts that are not serving you. Those are thoughts that are not encouraging you to be connected the way we just were talking about how the human is created for connection. And so as you're created for that connection, I just want to encourage us to look at ourselves, not in a pervasive way, like we talked about this last week, not in a way where you rehearse your own thoughts and you have this own thinking about, oh, woe is me, this is what's happening to me, oh, why is nobody there for me, how come nobody wants to call me? Most of the time when you're feeling lonely, it's always about you. Always. When it comes to me. And so a little bit about my story for those of you who are here. I'm recently divorced. I'm now single. I'm used to always having somebody here. Like I have my kid here, but I'm used to being with other adults. I'm an extreme extrovert. I like to be around people. I like to engage with people. And the way I recharge is interacting with people. For those of you introverts who are out here, you technically you kind of you engage and you begin to recharge by being alone and kind of having that solace, or just with one or two people instead of like a room full of people. And so when you study human behavior and how we kind of interact with one another, we're all created so unique and so different. The one thing that we do have in common, though, is that need for love and that need for human connection and that friendship. So when you're feeling lonely, you have to self-assess in a way that's not damaging to your own thoughts. Okay, so I want us to really kind of grab hold of that to know that it's a balance. You can't sit there and then think on your own thoughts for a while and be like, oh, this is happening to me. How come nobody's calling me? I feel so lonely. And you're in this space, but number one, you've never reached out to anybody. You don't open up your door to anyone, as in your heart and your door. And we're going to talk about how we create those connections that are meaningful. And let's just kind of go into the next theme here, is that don't waste your energy on things that do not serve your emotional bank. Do not waste energy on that. A lot of times when we feel lonely, we are spending our time and our energy on things that drain us. It could be social media. It could be conversations that are toxic. It could be just general conversations that are not uplifting and pouring into you. So we all have these different banks, right? You have a spiritual bank, you have an emotional bank, you have a mental bank. And in those times we feel exhausted, like even this week, I was feeling exhausted. And it was primarily because I felt like just certain banks were not full. I was like, oh my goodness, like I felt like I was recharging, but I was engaging, but I wasn't recharging. Okay? I want us to really understand that loneliness and this thought process of how to get the tools to stay free from those pervasive thoughts of loneliness that lead to depression and lead to all these other crazy, icky things that go on in our life. It's not unnatural to feel lonely occasionally, but when they become habits that basically push us away from what we're created to do, which is connect with another human, that's going to be something that we got to stay free from. We can't be in our own bubble all the time. And a lot of people who like to be alone are good for that. They're like, it's just me and God, or just me and I'm good, me, myself, and I don't need anybody else. But to be honest with you, God created you for human connection. So even if it's that one person that you need to connect with, you still have to have your emotional bank open enough for that person to pour into you. So I would like to encourage us, don't waste time on draining yourself with emotional conversation. What do I mean by that? How do you stay free from overly emotional conversations that are draining your emotional bank? If you find that your feelers, right, your emotions are flagging you and they're like, this is starting to stress me out, I'm starting to sweat, I'm starting to get angry, I'm starting to get mad. How do I feel about this interaction right now? When your emotions are starting to flag you, that's a time to ring the bell and be like, I think I might want to end this conversation, stop posting on this blog, whatever it may be. You might just want to pull back from that because that person is draining your energy. And they may be a good person in your life, but it still may be something that's draining you. And so when we feel lonely, it's really important for us to be around people and to open up our hearts and our minds to people who are serving that purpose of filling the emotional bank. Now, what we're not going to do is we're not going to leech off of people and depend on others, because we're going to keep talking about that too. When you think about where you are and your mindfulness, I just want to encourage us, gauge yourself. Don't continue to repeat these negative thoughts to yourself to say, oh, these people are not here for me. It's not really about other people. It's how am I engaging? How did I show up today? Did I show up hoping that this person was going to feel me, and because of their toxic behavior, they didn't, and I basically gave everything that I had? And now I'm drained. A lot of times we show up like that. And I think that's an important kind of point, just a side note to make, is that sometimes we show up with our full selves for people who don't deserve it. Straight up. And that's facts. Like, that's something that I had to learn myself. Like, I'm showing up for people, especially as a caregiver, someone who cares about people, working in child development, working in these fields of help. Those of you who work to help other people and you're just natural at helping people, you want to see people win. Man, people will drain you and they don't even realize that they're doing it. Sometimes people do it in a naive way too, y'all. Like, sometimes people just show up and they expect you to be there for them and you're like, yo, I don't have it today. I just don't have it. And we were talking about this like on another space in Clubhouse. Like, you just don't have it. So I just want to encourage us, first, we got to be present, be mindful. Don't get trapped in your own thinking that you're not remembering to just be present in the moment and move forward with those thoughts. Remember that you're supposed to engage with connection. So next point I wanted to bring up, reserving your energy. When we talked about this, don't pour out what you're not getting back. Don't continue to pour out in all these other areas and not reserve your own mental energy, right? So when we think about feelings, we've been talking a really clinical today. I'm not super clinical, but we've been talking real clinical today. Any thought that you have is a chemical. And I tell you, when you realize that thoughts that you have that are depressive thoughts or things that are really pushing you to the limit, anger, any negative emotion that you feel that's toxic in the body that you're feeling, is actually chemical. So when you break it down and you realize that this emotion is not something that's tangible, it is a chemical that I can redirect with other chemicals, you will begin to take the reserve that you have of the positive chemicals, the serotonin, different things like that. You won't try to supplement the serotonin with like sugar and different things, or like substance abuse and things like that to make you feel better, to bring you up, to make you high. You're going to bring your own self up with your own understanding of your body, and you're going to say, okay, I need to go work out today. I need to engage with the people who love me. I need to be present and read something that's going to uplift me. And sometimes we're physically in a place like we are in COVID where we can't have people readily there to just pour into us and just be there for us, to like pour into our energy bank. Sometimes it's just not like that. Well, guess what? The internet is wide open. You better Google. Like, you got to do it. Like, even if that's what we're doing here, and I hope that you all are getting that energy. I hope that I'm pouring into you right now, because it's really important for us to know you can find the energy you need anywhere. Do not feel so trapped. And we're going back to those rehearsing thoughts, right? What good is it to just rehearse, and then nothing ever comes of it? You have to find what pours into you. Whether that be motivational speaking, go to YouTube, Google what you want to hear, and let that pour over you while you're sleeping, while you're doing your work, whatever you need to do. Let that pour over you so that it can fill your emotional bank, so that when you do have human interaction and it does feel draining, you won't feel as drained. I'm not going to say it's a guarantee every single time, but you will find yourself feeling better when you can listen to things that cause you to feel better. It goes down to what we also watch and what we listen to. Now, I know it's cool and it's popular to listen to certain types of music, but to be honest, like, y'all, I love hip hop. Like, I straight up love hip hop. Like, love it, okay? Hip hop, like, Brown Sugar the movie, like, hip hop is my first love, like, on some real stuff. I love hip hop. But when I tell you there are certain types of hip hop I cannot listen to because the message that's coming across is so negative, it does not do my emotions or my mind right. I just can't listen to it because it may be popular, it may sound good, it may be popping, I might be able to dance to it, but for me, it drains me to think that kings and queens are out here doing whatever they're doing, or even putting it in the stream, putting that energy out there to say, oh, this is what I do. All this negative stuff, like self-harm, like basically popping pills, partying, drinking, all that kind of stuff. That's self-harm. Not to diss anybody that's doing it, but when you constantly do that kind of stuff all the time and you're never building and you're never giving back to the community and all that kind of stuff, and all you say is all I want to do is basically like get with girls and basically like we just hoeing out here, we thought and like, and we just popping pills, like that is not a healthy lifestyle. And any doctor and psychologist will tell you, you need to stop. How many drinks do you have in a week? Bruh, like you got to cut that out. That stuff is not cool. And I don't even know why we still glorify that. I don't even know why I'm talking about this right now. But we gotta, maybe somebody needs to hear that. Like, we cannot glorify this lifestyle. And just for me, because of where I want to go, I don't want to glorify that lifestyle in my life. And so it doesn't feed me. So certain things I just have to turn off. So when it comes to Netflix, when it comes to stuff that you watch on Hulu, sometimes you got to turn stuff off because it's draining your emotional bank. Certain things I wouldn't watch. I still haven't watched that, I guess it's like a series on Netflix about the Central Park situation that happened with the young men that were wrongly accused. I have a young black son. Certain stuff I can't watch, y'all. Like, just, I can't. Not that I don't want to be informed. I'd rather just go to the source, read what I need to read, and then keep it moving. And so we're in the age of information. And so since so much information is being passed on, you have to remember to reserve your energy and remember to pour into yourself those positive things that boost the chemicals, right? To combat the 80% of the other chemicals that are trying to rehearse itself and stay trapped in your mind and replay itself. Okay? So these are things that we can do. They're active things that we can do to stay away from lonely thinking. The next thing I want us to really do, and I want us to focus, yes, protect your spiritual gates. That's something that's really important. Reserve your energy. I love you guys interacting. Go ahead and continue to comment. I'm really, I feel like there's mad energy in here right now because I feel like there's something that just kind of needs to be put out there and said. So now let's get to the managing your expectations part. So we talked about how we're being aware, we're going to be mindful, and we're going to be present, but we're not going to continue to be trapped in our own thoughts and overthink the situation. We talked about reserving energy. Let's talk about managing your expectations. And I feel like these are two separate topics, but they gotta go together because a lot of times when we're feeling lonely, our expectation is an extrinsic factor, right? Extrinsic meaning it's coming from the outside in, meaning that when we blame people, when we say you did this or this person did that to me, it's extrinsic. It's something on the outside that is affecting me. When sometimes we got to look inward, not in a pervasive way, not in a way that traps us, but to say, hey, I'm going to self-evaluate and I'm going to really think about this. Is it me? Like, is it me? Is it me? Is my energy repelling people? Do you not have, the Bible says, those who want friends must be friendly. That's some real basic stuff. I mean, I don't even feel like that's religiously deep. Like, if you're not a friendly person and your vibe is off, like, nobody wants to bang with you. Nobody wants to talk to you. Nobody wants to talk to the person that's always giving them a cold shoulder. No one wants to talk to the person that's always got an attitude, who's always down, always, like, bringing people down and bringing the energy down in the room. I'm not that person. Like, I just can't. I can't do negative energy at all. Like, I'm like, no. I don't want to sit here and complain with you. I just don't. So sometimes we have to say, if we're in a bad space, reserve your energy and don't waste your time giving other negative energy off. Why don't you just reserve that for counseling or for prayer? Quiet meditation. Sometimes it's good to just do that. Sometimes we just need to keep our mouth shut and only say the things that are beneficial to other people and to ourselves. So sometimes when you feel like you want to complain, don't complain. Write it out in a journal. Give it to the person that can actually take it, like a counselor or a pastor or someone that's a trusted friend that can understand that. But definitely don't continue to like pour that stuff out to other people. Like, leave that at the door. Only give what builds other people up, because that's what you're going to attract. If you are a person that's positive and you always are giving that off to say, you know what, I'm not a lonely person. I may have lonely feelings, but when I do feel lonely and I want to make a connection, make the connection. Just put yourself out there, and it's okay. Just shoot your shot. That's life. It's risk. And so we have to just keep that balance. It's okay. And you have to be all right with whatever happens. Like we talked about boundaries last week. Be okay with whatever happens. You shot your shot. It's cool. But if you're okay with yourself, you won't beat yourself up about shooting that shot and shutting down, because that's what traps you, right? It's all about you. All of these studies, y'all, every time I would look at different things about loneliness, it always talked about how that person is stuck in their own head and how it's all about that person thinking too much about what's happening. And so I want to kind of touch on the expectation part and how that part in the brain is connected to imaginary thoughts. So it was talking about hopefulness, right? Imagination, the part that holds memory. A lot of times you're recalling and recollecting those feelings when you weren't lonely. So when you recall it, it's like you're not thinking, when you think about loneliness, right? You're not thinking about times when you were by yourself. You're thinking about times when people were there for you. Or you're thinking about times when you had a really good friendship or a really good conversation. I wish so-and-so was here right now. I wish, mom was still here. Or I wish that, my friends, dad, back in the day, we used to. And you're always thinking of those thoughts, but you're still in your own head and you're thinking about something that doesn't exist. Something that happened. The past doesn't exist, y'all. This exists right now. I'm live with you right here, right now. It does not exist. It's not tangible. What exists is right now. And whatever's happening in the future still doesn't exist yet. It hasn't happened. So why are we trapped in our own thinking about things that haven't even happened yet? That's something that I had to seriously stay free from, is not moving forward because I was so afraid of what would happen. Well, what if this happens? If you get caught up in the what if, like, put something in the chat. Like, but what if they reject me? What if they say this? What if it doesn't work? What if this is going to happen? Like, that's just me. That's what I have to stay free from. I have to stay free from the future thought, not past thoughts. Because I'd be like, okay, the past is the past. That's whatever. Some people get stuck in the past, but some people get stuck in the future. Like, that's me. Like, oh, if I calculate all these different things, then I'm able to predict the future and like kind of set it up. You can plan, you can put things together, but honestly, it's really the action in the present that's going to affect the future. So what am I spending time for, worried about the future when my present is right here in front of me? And if I'm mindful about my present, then I can take the necessary actions and be present here with you all. I'm taking a step right here to have a conversation, to make a connection, and this is setting up my future. Like, this is setting the future up for me. I can't think about what happens after this live. I can't think about what happens tomorrow. I'm being present. I'm here with you all because what's happening right here, right now is going to affect my future. And the more present I am and the more energy that I give you all now, that's what's going to sow seeds into what will happen and how I show up later for other people and how I show up for myself. So let's be very conscious of how we're showing up for people and what we're expecting of people. Y'all got to lower your expectations. Like, I have to do it. We all have to do it. Like, lower your expectations of people. People cannot make you happy. Newsflash. They can't. People say money can't buy happiness and all this other kind of stuff, but people will not and cannot make you happy. Happiness, including sadness, your reaction is still your responsibility. It's your responsibility. It's your responsibility to react, respond, whatever you want to call it. It's your responsibility for the chemicals that you let off in your own brain. It's us. No one can do that for you. No one can say, here's happiness. Take this, eat this. I've given you happiness. No one can do that. No one can trigger the response. It could be something that triggers a response, but nobody can actually inject you with that. So I want us, as we think about loneliness, to remember that it could be us most of the time. We are responsible for our own happiness. We are responsible for our own human connection. We are responsible for building lasting and amazing relationships with people. Put yourself out there. You're responsible for managing fear. Because a lot of times that's what it is, yo. Like, I'm afraid that person will never come back. I'm afraid that I'm going to be alone forever. Why are we afraid to be alone forever? If you continue to put yourself out there and you continue to make connection and be present and show up as the amazing, brilliant, beautiful, purposeful person you are, you're going to attract those people. There's no need to be afraid of being alone, because if you show up the way you need to and the way you've been created to show up, your people will show up because they're going to want to be around you because your light is on, your light is shining. So I just want to encourage us, shine your light, be that person for other people without exerting your energy for those who are trying to drain you, and without exerting it in places that actually doesn't serve any purpose. So I want to talk a little bit about that, managing expectations. If you have questions, go ahead and start putting them in the chat. I want to answer some questions for us about this topic because I feel like it's really important to kind of hear what you all are thinking and what you're saying about it. So if you have questions, go ahead and put it in there. The last thing about making the meaningful connections that I want to talk about is as we manage the expectations and we kind of place people where they belong, meaningful connection is the most important thing. So we talked about how, we can drain ourselves with toxic people and different things like that. But I want us to focus in on meaningful connection. And when I say meaningful connection, I really mean that it's that person or that blog or, someone who you have seen show up for you. If you have seen that person show up for you, tell that person that you're grateful. Like, I'm grateful for all of you who are here right now who have showed up for me. Like, I see Zandre here. I see Stephanie here. Thank you for showing up for me. Boss Boutique, like, the boss lady, she's dope. She always shows up for me. Clee, you always show up for me. So thank you. I thank you guys for showing up for me. Like, my mom's in here that I saw came in earlier. She shows up for me. Like, I appreciate you all. Shamina, I saw you in here. Like, thank y'all for showing up. That's dope. Like, I appreciate every person that's in here. Entrepreneurial Beauty, like, thank you for showing up. Because you got to appreciate the people that create that meaningful connection with you. This is a meaningful connection. If you're getting value from this, it's a meaningful connection. And so you got to show up for people who show up for you. When I tell you this is a tool that set me free as a person who loves to give and who's a caregiver who cares so much about people, right? I'm a high I if you talk about the DISC assessment. I love showing up for people. I care about people. I love the study of people and how they move and what they do, right? When I stopped being so concerned and down and sad about the people who I thought were going to be there for me, like, it freed me, y'all. Like, it straight up freed me. Throughout this whole ordeal, my divorce, my separation, when I was going through it with my ex, when I was almost homeless, when I was homeless for a little while, when I needed money, when we were broke, we didn't have anything, when I was about to get evicted last year, I could not focus on the people who didn't show up for me, or who, even when they did show up for me, they showed up in a way that didn't serve. And when I say it doesn't serve, we kind of use that as jargon, but when I say a person who doesn't serve, I don't mean a person that's supposed to be at your beck and call. I mean a person who is not contributing to the value that you have in your life or contributing to your purpose. A person who's detracting from that. I had people who showed up and basically were like, why are you even talking about your personal life? Why are you sharing your story? Please be quiet. You're the problem. Like, I had people say in my situation that I was the problem. I was like, wow. Okay. A little bit of victim blaming here. I see that happens. Our society is kind of good for that. But what was my thought process behind that? Like, behind taking that in. I had to look at those comments and those emails and those different things that happened to me and those people who kind of showed up. And when they showed up, I thought they had answers and they looked at me like, sis, I don't know what to tell you. And I was like, dang, you supposed to have answers? Like, you got credentials behind your name and you ain't got no answers for me. So that was kind of difficult. And when I saw those people who I thought were going to be there and I thought would show up, even close friends I thought would actually call and show up, did not show up. They were like, sorry, don't know what to tell you. And I was like, dang, really? That kind of stuff kind of stings, right? We got to be honest about that. And that's why sometimes we feel lonely, because we expect people to show up for us. Extrinsic, right? We just said that. That extrinsic factor. We expect other people to give us something that really belongs to us. My own happiness belongs to me. The control of my future belongs to me. God is the one who's designing my steps. And so if I seek him for what he's already put in me, and I pull from that, that's what's going to give me fulfillment. Not what other people can do for me. And that's something I've really had to learn. And sometimes it's hard to stay free in that area, y'all, because you think people should show up in a certain way. And sometimes they don't. Sometimes they just don't. What's going on? This is the sis I was telling you guys about earlier, Glow with Purpose. So what's up, Melina? We just gave the announcement earlier about the about the summit happening this weekend. So definitely go over to her page and go ahead and register for that summit. It's going to be bomb. You definitely don't want to miss it. So we're doing Q&A. We're hitting that pocket. So I'm going to hang out with you all for about another like 15 to 20 minutes and do like some Q&A, and then I'm heading over to Clubhouse. So tell me, like, if you guys have any thoughts behind this, like, tell me what you're getting out of this. Like, I really want to hear it, but I just want to stress the meaningful connection. Make meaningful connections. The people you least expect to show up for you, you be surprised. And sometimes I had to check my own judgment. Sometimes it's us, right? You don't expect someone to show up for you, and then they show up and you're like, God, that couldn't be that person that showed up for me. But it was. And they end up being such a blessing. You didn't even know what kind of blessing that you were going to receive through that person, because you were looking and your eyes were somewhere else, or even looking at yourself so much that you didn't see that there was a meaningful connection being placed right in front of you. And you just basically were like, that's not what I expected, so I'm going to overlook it. This is how we can stay free from the lonely feelings, y'all. Stay free from it. Reject these thoughts. Reject the negative thoughts that you're rehearsing in your mind. Reject those things that are like in you, that are really trying to like bring you down, and really fill yourself with the things that need to be there, that will encourage the positive energy, that will encourage the positive thinking in your mind. You have to do it. You gotta do it. It's so important. So I'm taking Q&A. What kind of questions do we have? Let's talk back. Let's talk about it. Let's go. Thanks for tagging people. Questions, comments. I want to hear what you all have to say. Are y'all getting some out of this? Like, go ahead and put something down in the chat. I want to hear you. Because we can keep talking about this for a little bit more. But I want us to stay free, y'all. Like, y'all know I always have just thoughts behind staying free, and just a little bit about me. Like, I want people to stay free, because these are tools that I've actually utilized to stay free from these thoughts. I had to stay free from expecting other people to show up for me. Even in the darkest moments of my life, the people who I expected to show up for me the most did not show up. They didn't. And I have to be okay with that. And I am okay with that. I'm healed from it. I've forgiven those people, because sometimes you got to forgive those people that you had expectations for. You put those expectations on them. And actually, sometimes, I'm not even going to say it's all on us. Sometimes people put themselves out there, and they give you the expectation. They hand it to you in a pretty package, and they say, this is how you can trust me. And you take their word for it. And you trust them in that way, and then they don't show up. So I'm not going to put that all on us. Sometimes it is them, straight up. Here, I like to talk about us, because we got to do the work for us, because that's really how you stay free, okay? Like, so just don't mishear me in that. Like, sometimes it is other people, straight up. Sometimes people do not show up for you, and they're supposed to be there. Like, you said you were coming, you didn't. You said I could call you anytime when I'm dealing with this. You said when this person is, when I'm dealing with this at home, that I could call you, and they're not there. They just don't show up emotionally for you. Or people who you may live with, you expect them to support you or be there for you in a certain way, and they're not. Because it's their job, right? Like, sometimes it's that person's job to be there for you. So let's do Q&A. We're doing Q&A. I'm going to hang out for about another 20 minutes. If you have questions about loneliness, managing your expectations, that's really kind of the conversation I want to have with y'all, but really about anything. So I'm going to pin that here. Pin it there. So what's going on, Theo? What's the best remedy or practical steps to distract yourself from feeling lonely? So I like to put it, the remove and renew factor. So as we talk about the remove and renew factor, we're doing Q&A. So if you have questions, go ahead and send them in the question box. The best remedy and practical steps to distract from feeling lonely is to really get out of your own head, right? And so when I say getting out of your own head, you need to stop. And when you recognize that you're feeling lonely, you need to look around and figure out, okay, what were the steps that led up to this? Because I always feel like thinking about things and figuring out how we got here is important to figure out a strategy on where we're going. So how did we get here today? Did I expect something from someone today? Did I expect a phone call? Am I usually with people this time of year? Am I usually, am I always in the house by myself? Like, kind of think about what got you there. And then the other step that I would say that's practical is now you need to go do something that you enjoy, because remember, those thoughts are producing negative chemicals, right? Because Emotions are chemicals in your brain. So how can we override those chemicals and dismiss the negative thought? So in order to prevent ourselves from being in our own head and thinking about those things, you need to stop, get up, and go do something else. And not anything that's going to drain your energy, okay? Because we talked about that. Don't do stuff that's going to drain your energy. Do something that's going to fill you. So that goes back to the remove and renew process. You're going to remove and you're going to renew, and you're going to remove and you're going to renew. That's the constant process. So we're not going to go eat, right? Like, I have issues with that. You're not going to do superficial things. Go do something that you know for a fact brings you happiness. Not as an extrinsic factor, but something that's a gift that's inside of you that you can do. As Andre Music, it says music. Making music, if that's what you want to do, if you're a writer, if you're a person that helps people, if you need to get out and go for a walk, if you need to do something that encourages you, go listen to something that will renew your mind, renew your soul. Do something practical that will get you out of your own head and help you be present in the moment, not to be trapped in your thinking. Present in the moment, not trapped in thinking. Mindfulness is so important. You may need to just go for a walk. You could just be hungry. You know what I'm saying? Like, eat healthy food, exercise. I love to dance. I love to sing. I love to watch funny videos. Sometimes you just need to laugh. You know, your brain actually doesn't know the difference between a fake laugh and a real laugh. I'm giving all kinds of psychology gems tonight. Like, my brain doesn't know the difference. It doesn't. Just like your brain doesn't know the difference between emotional pain and physical pain, because it's a chemical, right? It's just a chemical. So all we're doing is chemical replacement here, just on the molecular level. Just replace some chemicals. Go do something you love to do. Do something that makes you happy. So I like to write. I like to do things that make me happy. I like to play with my son. Children and pets, they're therapeutic. Go play with your nieces, nephews. I know we were talking about being in quarantine. Hey, what's going on, Vanity? Thanks for everybody that's coming in. We're doing Q&A, so go ahead and add some questions. Sitting in the snow. I actually want snow. Not having snow makes me feel lonely, but here we go, right? Thinking about other people's situation. I have to be present. Yes, that is so dope. I appreciate that. If you guys have questions before we head out, I'm going to be here for a few more minutes, so do some questions. That's really dope, Stephanie. I love that. Sitting in the snow and listening to music, like listening to the music that enriches you, your favorite song. You know what I like to do? I like to go back to things that made me happy when I was a kid, right? Like old videos or old shows that you used to watch on Disney Channel or Nickelodeon. Like, if you need to pull up like certain things that used to just make you crack up, sometimes we need to go back to our own childlikeness, right? And just go back and be silly. Like, laugh. Y'all too serious. Like, sometimes we just need to laugh. Like, sometimes you just need to like put on some stand-up comedy, something. Like, just be goofy. Watch a comedy. Like, goof off with your significant other, your spouse, whoever. Goof off with your kids. Do something messy. Do something you haven't done before. Retrain your brain to get out of your own way. And so even if you are alone, right, and you can't be with the ones you love this year, do those things that you remember, but do it virtually. We talked about that before, like getting some new habits and some new hobbies that you want to do. If you like to bake, bake. If you want to cook, get on Pinterest. There's too much information out here. There's too much to have access to for us to be sitting in the bed doing nothing, looking at the walls, being in our own thoughts. It's too much to do. It's too much to do out here. Pick something. Go to Home Depot. Well, I don't know. Put your mask on, go to Home Depot, walk around. Like, I don't know what y'all like to do. What do y'all like to do? Oh, yes, I love Zumba. Man, YouTube has so much Zumba and like dance fitness. So much. What else y'all want to talk about? Managing expectations. I'm going to be here for about 15 more minutes. Thanks for the questions, Andre. It's dope. Questions, Q&A, questions about combating loneliness and managing your expectations about people. Yes, skating, that is dope. I love that. Anybody else, what do you enjoy? What would you do to get out of your own head? Like, let's share some thoughts. I love that. I love what everybody's sharing. This is dope. A new hobby is skating. I love that. I want to pick up skating too, Vanity. I know we kind of talked about that. Man, I want a pair of skates. Like, I used to skate. That used to make me happy. I love dancing on skates. Yes, comfortable with your own peace. And for some people, peace and quiet is it. Like, that is it. Some people, silence drives them nuts. I'm a little bit of both. I like my peace. I like to be quiet. And I also love interacting. Like, I love interaction. Sometimes I just need that with people. Yes, working out, walking in nature, and finding out new things about nature. I think that's pretty cool too. Interacting with your surroundings. So when you walk or when you work out, find out something new that you didn't know before about that hobby. Educate yourself. Education is a really good way to get out of your own thinking, get out of your own head. Any other questions? Let's do Q&A. What other questions you guys want to know? Recording art. Oh yeah, that's dope. And you know what? Even documentaries, like diving deeper into what made that person record the way they did, going back and watching interviews about people, like of people who, as they're recording, going back. I love doing that too. Like when I kind of find out, like I love somebody's creative process, I kind of watch them and I'm like, tag, so what were they doing when this came out? And I just go back and I like listen to all their stuff. I love documentaries. It's so educational. Also, disconnect from social media and connect with myself. Yes. Listen to my own inner voice. Sometimes you got to shut out all the extra noise. And that's that good balance, right, Stephanie? Like shutting out all the extra noise and not thinking, negative thoughts to yourself, but sitting there with your peaceful self. And sometimes you got to be your own best friend. You got to positive self-talk and talk to yourself because honestly, as we're talking about this, right? Like people come and go, right? People come and go. No matter how they come and go, they do, right? And so the only person that you're stuck with until the day you are no longer anymore is you. So you might want to get well acquainted. Y'all might want to talk to each other and have some good combos because the only person that you can be acquainted with well is yourself. Yes. Like just talk with yourself. I literally crack myself up. Like I think I'm really funny. Like I'm like, you're funny. I think that's hilarious. Some things like you'll have a memory that you think is funny. Like you have to talk to yourself. Be good friends with you. Anything else? Any other questions? What's going on? We're just talking about how to get away from pervasive thoughts of loneliness. I just want to encourage you all to make that connection. So let's just kind of recap what we talked about tonight. And if you all have questions, go ahead and put them in. But whatever you need, yes, this is good. I love to speak positive to myself in front of the mirror. Yes. And appreciate how beautiful God made you, right? Like, tell yourself you're beautiful. Tell yourself you're handsome. You fine. Like, be like, I know. This is, God, you did that, okay? You got to. You got to talk yourself up. So just like thinking about all of this, thinking about it, we're not going to be trapped in our own mind. We're going to be present. We're going to be mindful, but we're not going to be trapped and we're not going to think negative thoughts. We're going to remove those negative thoughts and replace them and renew them with the positive thoughts. Thoughts are just energy exchanged. Your feelings are only energy. They're only flags. So when you reduce them to that level and you say, hey, that's a flag, you can put the flag down now. You're not going to be out there waving flags all day. Like people land in planes, they waving a flag. It's like, okay, now the plane's not landing anymore. You can put the flag down. Like that's enough. Just, it's a flag. It doesn't dictate the situation. If you're feeling lonely, remember that you're made for connection. And it's okay to feel lonely sometimes. But what are we going to do when those thoughts of loneliness, they come up? Even in a room full of people, even when you're with your spouse or you're with your loved one or your kids or whatever, or even if you're really by yourself, how can you combat those feelings of loneliness so that it doesn't take you into a place where you're bound and you're thinking these negative thoughts over and over again and you just feel like you need something else? Finding contentment in your own self. Find contentment where you are. We talked about managing your expectations, not believing that it's someone else's responsibility for you to be happy. You're responsible for your own reactions. And that friendly people, if you want friends, you need to be friendly. That if you want that social interaction because you're created for it, so it's okay to want it, but is your light on? Are you positive? Are you engaging with people? Are you putting yourself out there? Are you negative? Are you negative Nancy? Complaining Kathy? Complaining Karen? Hype yourself up. That is dope. Yes, be your own best friend and dancing with yourself. Oh my gosh, girl, if I had cameras that could like broadcast me dancing and singing in here, I cut up. I'm a whole fine arts nerd, so I cut up in here. Okay, my neighbors probably think they like, does she sing? Like, what is she doing? Like, we be recording albums in here, and don't let the worship music be on. I'm in the whole choir. Okay, you can't tell me I can't. You can't tell me I don't lead worship in here. Okay, I be singing right along with all the worship. You ever like look up stuff like concerts and stuff online? Something that, you know, what's something that's really silly and funny that made me laugh the other day. I actually serve youth, and one of the teens put up on Instagram that um, Adam Sandler re-recorded the entire Hamilton album. And when I tell y'all, like, that brought back childhood memories of watching like Billy Madison and like hilarious Adam Sandler movies, and just cracking up at him like making the Hanukkah song, like all these other funny things. I listened to like that whole thing. First of all, I love Hamilton. I love musicals. So that's something I do. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna watch a musical. Watching a musical that I've never seen before is always fun for me. And then just like listening to that, and I like halfway through I was like, you're literally sitting here listening to Adam Sandler sing Hamilton. Like, really though? But I was enjoying myself, and I had a whole good time. It was hilarious. I was like, this is super annoying, but it's hilarious. So you just gotta have fun. Like, just enjoy yourself. Have fun. All right. If there's not anything else, I'm about to head over to Clubhouse. So if you got Clubhouse, meet me over there. We're going to start opening up the floor about managing expectations. I really enjoy all of you for rocking with me. If you haven't registered for the Glowing with Purpose Women Edified Summit 2020, Women Edified 2020 is going on tomorrow and Saturday. You can join. Miss Glowing with Purpose is in here. So if you can go ahead and go over to her page and go ahead and buy tickets. And you definitely don't want to miss all the speakers, all the lineups that's going to be on there. It's super affordable. It's a beautiful online summit, and I'm sure you're going to get so many gems. Go ahead, if you're still in here, Melina, go ahead and put the 3 different topics that the 3 different paths that people are talking about. I can't remember off the top of my head, and I don't want to botch it. I know that it's like faith and relationships, and I think there's one more. So go ahead and put it in the chat, because I want people to know, and I want you all to follow her for sure. Follow each other. I love that. Definitely follow one another, because you all are here. You're present. You're in the moment, and you're here renewing your mind, which I absolutely love, because you all want to stay free, and that's what we're doing here in the Stay Free Studio. So if there aren't any other questions and whatnot, I love y'all dearly. Thank you all for the support. So I'm going to take a moment to appreciate all of you for being here. And if you have questions, DM me. It's all good. I have some really cool things coming up in the next few months, and I'm really excited about it. Women edified in faith, in relationships, and in business. And the fellas can join as well. And even on our panel, it's a male female discussion, so it's gonna be really engaging and exciting. So you want to buy some tickets. It'll be on the panel that I'm on with Melina, who's also in here, Canel, as well as Mixpirations, which is McDonald. We're all going to be on there, and we're going to be talking about having a really good conversation about just dominion, and like taking dominion in the earth. And I'm not going to give too many good things away, because you guys got to be there. And male and female relationships, and just your expectations, and how God has designed us to walk in purpose, and how we're going to support each other in that. So thank you so much. I love you guys, and I will see y'all next Thursday right here to Talk Free in the Stay Free Studio. We are going to be adding YouTube and Facebook in a few weeks, so just look out for that. That's going to be a lot of fun, because there are some people over on Facebook who are really sad that we're over here. And they're like, I can't wait for you to come to Facebook. So we'll do it for the Facebook people. I know they're over there kind of hanging out and waiting. So if you're on Clubhouse, go ahead and meet me on Clubhouse, and I'll be over there in a second. But until next time, I'll see you guys. Actually, next week is Christmas Eve, but I am going to be on here. So I don't know what you all will be doing, but I'm going to pop in for a little bit. I don't know if you guys have some traditions and different things that you want to do next week, but I'll be on here. We're going to talk a little bit. I'm not going to be long, but I gotta get my renewal in with my family and different things like that. So I hope you all have a great week. And until next time, stay free.